Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Librarian California, where today's video I'm going to be doing the anti-TBR tag. So I was tagged to do this video by Steve Donahue. I'll leave his video below. This originally was created by Nicole in her books. I'll also leave her video below as well. So let's just dive in and see what's here. And what's right off the bat, the first question was the hardest, and that's a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. And I honestly couldn't come up with one because, like, for example, like I work with all these librarians, they all have different tastes. Like, we would never read the same books. Then I thought about some of my friends who are librarians elsewhere, and again, I couldn't come up with any books. But what I could come up with is basically any book that a random celebrity just pushes out there. Now, there's a few celebrities that actually have like book clubs and are avid readers and things. So I'm less skeptical of those, but random celebrity plugging somebody who you don't know, cousin, relative, somebody that used to work for them, like, doesn't mean if it's good or not, just randomly pushes it out there or they have some interest in it, like, don't care. And there's a lot of books that get a lot of hype just because, some celebrity was pushing them, but doesn't mean they're actually good. So anyways, that's probably where I'll go with that one. Again, that was like the hardest question. I really couldn't come up with one, where the rest of them, I have answers for all of them. So the second one is a classic book or author you don't have any interest in reading. And I thought about this one a lot, and I thought about different classic books I have, some I haven't read, and I was just kind of browsing, and I was like, you know what? Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I just have no interest in that book. I'm a historian, among other things. I have no interest in that book. Russian history doesn't really do a ton for me. I mean, there's some interesting things about czars and the Romanovs and things, but other than that, no. I've even watched YouTube videos on this book. I'm a fan of David Murphy's channel. I'm like, I always learn something from him. A lot of it's heavy on like economics, but I think he's read the book several times. I don't know how he's done it, but yeah, I just have no interest in that book. So if you've read it and you think it's great and you should change my mind, like, put it down below in the comments, but I just have no interest in that book, but it's classic. Let's see, question number 3, an author whose work you have no interest in reading. I'm actually gonna name off a bunch of people. I'm gonna name off like Lee Child, David Balducci, Danielle Steele, James Patterson, and I know what you're thinking, like, oh, he doesn't like people that churn out books and that. Totally not true. If their name is John Grisham, I will consume it all. So I think what it is that if you are okay with like a formulaic author where they, do the same book and just slightly vary it here and there, like, I think you just need to find your niche. And so I discovered John Grisham like 25 years ago. Yeah, I'll just consume whatever he writes, but for the rest of them, no interest at all. I found my book churner outer and I'm good to go with him. So yeah, so I just have no interest in those other ones, but I found mine. So I have nothing against those people that read those people, because I have mine. So again, John's mine and you can have the rest. Question 3.2 was actually obviously a bonus, and it was a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. And you could combine that with question 3 and make it 3.2. Again, I couldn't come up with any one specific, but I came up with a reason or problem that I do have, and I wouldn't read an author. I have problems with authors who have been known to plagiarize, or whose work is heavily suspected of plagiarism, or it's trying to push a line that's so close and just not giving credit to the original, creator, and not calling it fan fiction. And I just have a problem with that. So, a repeat offender of plagiarism, like, not interested. Also not interested in authors who, are just racist. And I don't mean, I'm okay if it's a historian talking about the history of racism and obviously needing to provide context and facts and things, but like somebody who's writing a modern day story today that's just racist for no reason, like, sorry, not interested. I don't get it. Like, you're telling me a history, great, but if it's a fiction, now if it's like, fiction and it's during the Civil War, it's during the Reconstruction, it's during slavery, like, totally makes sense. But to push some crap today, like, I'm just not interested. So anyways, Those are the areas that I would find problematic. So any authors in that area. So number 4, an author you have read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. This one popped in my head like immediately, and that's David Sedaris. I think I've read 3 of his books, and I want to think they're funny, and they're not to me. Yeah, I think I've read 3 of his books. I think I read one. I was like, okay, but people say he's really funny. I'll give it another try. Waited a couple years, read another one. I was like, okay, I don't still find this funny. And then the last one I did actually in quarantine, I don't know, feels like forever ago now. And yeah, I was like, cool, this author's not for me. So I think 3 books is plenty to try him. And I just like a lot of other, I guess, comedic or satire, just from other people. So yeah, he's not for me. But there's nothing wrong with him. I don't find it funny. So anyways, that's the person I'm putting for that one. Question number 5, a genre you have no interest in or a genre you have tried to get into and couldn't. So immediately something came to mind. And then I was like, damn it, I can't use that one because my friends convinced me I had to. So I'll tell you what it was. Initially, I was like, Amish romance novels. And then my friend has pointed out to me several times that I need to read one, as I have purchased like 400 of them. Now, I have purchased like 400 of them the last, 5+ years, but that's another video for another time. Apparently, I am the conduit to many old ladies in the Midwest who consume these books en masse, including my mother and all of her friends. And when you're a mother and your son is a librarian, you just have to get her whatever she wants. So that's another video for another day. But my friend says I need to read one just because she's like, you can't have purchased like, I think it's like the number something ridiculous, like 300, I think I've kept track of it, but like 386 Amish romance novels, and you've never read one. And I have no interest in it, but I kind of think I should probably figure out what my mom liked about them. Now, I will say success, I've got her to move on to some other genres. So like, I just can't buy anymore. Literally, I don't think I could find anymore. I think I literally bought every Amish romance novel there was. Seriously. But anyways, so I'm not going to say that one because my friend's like, you have to. You literally bought hundreds of them. So I'm going to go with a different answer here, and that's horror. And here's 2 things about horror. Either it's so ridiculous and it's absurd that it's just, I'm just like, what the hell am I reading? Or if it's legit scary, like, I don't need that. Like, I don't need the bejesus scared out of me. That's what 2020 is for. Like, I don't need it. I'm good for a long time. So I guess I'd have to figure out something in between. And I do say like thriller. I'll read some thriller, but actual like quote unquote horror, like it's not my thing. It's, funny enough, it's my best friend's thing. It's basically all he consumes. But again, you can have different tastes in different people. But I'm just like, yeah, I've no interest in horror. I just don't. I'll read almost anything else. But anyways. So, and then question number 6 is a book you have bought but will never read. And this can be a book you've unhauled or you've returned to the library. And I know that Steve said in his video, he's like, I don't understand anybody that would have a book that they would never read and it's in their collection. And I was like, I got one. So, Team of Rivals. And it's The Political Genius of Abraham Lincoln by Doris Kearns Goodwin, who is winner of the Pulitzer Prize here. Now, I will say, one of the reasons I won't unhaul this book, first off, is it is a signed copy. And I'm a fan of hers. I love to hear her talk, which is originally why I bought this book. But here's why I can't read it. I just can't. I don't know if I can read another book that talks about the Civil War ever. And again, I mentioned I have a graduate degree in history. Wasn't my favorite area anyways, but that's not why I just can't read Civil War. My last job, I worked in an archives in a library, and in the South, they love the Civil War in the South. There's like 200 and some books a year published on the Civil War. And these people would come in, they're always older people. They're writing a book about the Civil War. And you go get collections for them and things, and they just talk your head off. And and it got to a point where I'm like, I'd never like identify myself as a historian, because that just is, you're just asking for like to never be let go and just have your ear talked off. And I just can't. Like, so much of it, well, first off, like 90% of the people would come in and declare like, I'm a historian and I'm writing a book about the Civil War. And I feel like that is a term that bothers me because like people use it without like any qualifications. Like you could be into history, but are you quote unquote a historian? Like, do you have a degree in history? Do you have an advanced degree in history? You know, like I feel like it's a term that people like loosely give themselves titles to, which again, I don't care, but like if you are announcing yourself, you're probably not. And then it drove me nuts is like, it was all revisionist history. And what do I mean by that is people come in and say like, you know, there's just like one battle. And do you know if like this one thing changed, like this would change? And I'm like, yeah, but if that one thing changed, that would cause a chain of events that this would have changed and this would have changed and this would have changed and this would have changed. So you can't do revisionist history. You can't rewrite it. You can't, because you cannot isolate one single thing and then be able to predict all the outcomes that didn't happen, because again, that's not how things work. So I can't handle revisionists that are just like, do you know? And I'm like, I don't care. But anyways, I have helped so many Civil War historians. So again, if you're a Civil War historian, like, I'm sorry. I gladly helped you. That was my job. I'm happy to help people find what they're looking for. But like, I don't think I could read another one again. But I like Doris. And I'm from the land of Lincoln. Like I was like, yes, I should read this. And I can't. Like, those people, I mean, I did this for like a decade too. Those people ruined it. Like, I don't ever want, I don't give a crap about the Civil War. And I don't know if I can read it. Even if it's about Lincoln and his genius, I don't know. So I'm just going to keep it. Maybe I'll change my mind in a couple decades. But for now, the reason it's unhauled is because it's signed by her. And I really like her. She's a fascinating woman, but those people ruined it for me. They ruined like an entire century of history that I could be reading. So anyways, next question. A series you have no interest in reading or a series you have started and didn't DNF? Game of Thrones. And I just had no interest in it. I mean, like I didn't even watch the HBO series, and maybe I'll watch that someday, but like I have no interest in the books. There's too many of them. They're too long. If you saw one of my other videos, like I'm not a fan of like huge long series and huge long books. I can't do it. Fun story though, is I have a friend who's a librarian, and she was in a coffee shop in like Albuquerque or Santa Fe, wherever he lives. She lives there too. And she was sitting next to him in the coffee shop. They struck up a conversation. She had no idea who the hell he was. He was obviously working on, she was like, oh, I think this guy was writing a book or whatever. The next day, she saw his picture on like a news website and talking about the next Game of Thrones books. And she's like, oh my God, like I literally was sitting next to him yesterday. I had no idea who it was. And this happens to her like all the time. She was literally in an elevator with an Olympic swimmer, and like he didn't have his cap on. She didn't recognize him, and she was a fan, and she was actually at the trials and things. And I was like cracking up, like she literally runs into celebrities or, you know, famous authors, people or whatever, and she'll be standing next to them. They'll have a conversation with her, and she has no idea who they are until after they're gone. And so that was her. Yeah, and as a librarian, she was like, how did I not know what he looked like? I'm like, I even know what he looks like. But that's hilarious. So anyways, but I have no interest in his books. I'm sorry. So I hear they're good and long and it's a big commitment and I don't have that kind of time. So anyways, that was an easy one for me. I was like, Game of Thrones, hands down. So anyways, the last question, question number 8, is a new release you have no interest in reading. And this would be The Glass House by Emily St. John Mandel. And the reason for that is, so she wrote Station 11, which I did read. I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars. And I'll tell you what it was about that book I didn't like is that her writing style jumps all around. So like the stories jump like in time and place and they jump all over the place. And I wrote that it was just, for Station 11, it jumped around too much for me, for my personal taste, and that it was distracting and it was hard to keep track of things. And I looked at a couple reviews about this new book, and what the comment was, and I wrote it down here, is like, she goes back and forth again like she did with Station 11. I was like, no, I can't. So anyways, I know that book's pretty popular right now. I know a lot of people are reading it. I know a lot of people love Station 11. I know some people didn't. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, like I said, but I I can't be jumping all over the place like too much. Like I get some back and forth or, you know, but I can't do it too much. And I feel like this is too much again. And just even from a couple comments I read on some reviews of it. So I can't do it. So anyways, sorry, but that's my, my new release that I cannot read. So anyways, finally, again, like I'm a pretty small YouTuber, so I don't know a ton of YouTubers on here. I will say one that I follow that I don't think has done this book tag yet, so I'm going to do this, is Dwayne at Flipping Pages. I don't think he's done this one. And spoiler alert, like none of his answers are going to be Brandon Sanderson, period. Like you'll never find that gentleman's name mentioned if he does this video. That is like his favorite author, so. And all his videos are basically about that right now. So anyways, that's why I think this would be perfect for him, because I'm like, we know that that won't be the answer. So anyways, that's all I'm gonna tag right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I hope you have a great day and continue reading.